Greetings. My name is Dr. Graham Simpson, and I'm here with Chase, a patient of mine. We've become good friends since then, and I'm delighted to interview him today. He's visiting here in Las Vegas, so it was an ideal time to catch up. I hadn't seen him actually since, I think, when was it? September last year.
September of last year, yeah.
So let me just give you a little context, and then you're going to hear, I think, mostly from Chase. My good friend John Glick, who hopefully we'll talk to a little bit later, I met with John at a very interesting Keto summit in Ohio, and during the conversation with John, Chase's dad, he told me that his son was quite overweight. I didn't quite realize how overweight, but anyway, since I was going back to Dubai after the conference in Ohio, he said, look, would I have a chance to meet his son and maybe give him some advice about the keto diet? And so that's really what we're talking about today. And I'm so delighted because how heavy were you when I met you, Chase?
I think when I met you, I was around 300 pounds.
300 pounds.
Yeah.
And you can see this young man is
not anymore.
He's lost. You've lost how much exactly?
110 pounds. So now I'm at 190.
Pounds. So I think the reason we're chatting here, just talking with Chase here, is to get a little idea about what happens in the real world, because keto, as most people know, is spreading like wildfire throughout the world. And it's great to, having seen you, and I was shocked when I saw you last night. You'd like gone to half size. But why don't you, obviously I gave you a little bit of advice about what keto is and that, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because, I mean, it's a tremendously important, opportunity to let people who have had similar problems, because I know you told me you tried a number of different things in the past and things like that. So, tell us a little bit about how your journey went.
So, I guess to start things off, I have been overweight my whole life. Even starting at 5 years old, I remember sitting in the doctor's office, and he was like, you need to stop eating pasta, you need to stop having the pizza, and I didn't really listen, obviously, and I think it just kept going. And then I remember when I was in high school, I started to get really overweight. So by the time I was like a freshman in high school, I was about 220 pounds. And then I really started to eat out of boredom, a little bit of depression, and it just kind of cycled. And again, I started to meet with my doctors, and they started to get really serious about me losing weight near when I first started college, so my freshman year. And again, at that point, I was probably 250. And I did try working out, obviously. I had a couple personal trainers. I tried eating right, but there was never a diet that I could really stick to. I would always be craving what I couldn't have. I would always want what everyone said I couldn't have. And at one point, I remember when I was in college, I just kind of gave up on trying to be healthy because I just felt like at that point I was almost in too deep. And so because of that, I really blew up when I was in college. I went from 250, and then when we met, I just graduated, and I was about 300. So I gained close to 50 pounds in my 4 years of college. And that was obviously due to excess drinking. That was due to obviously eating badly, and it just kept cycling. And I obviously tried being healthy. I have friends who really tried to encourage me, but I couldn't do it. There was nothing that I could eat that I was happy with when I was satisfied.
Yeah.
I was a really big late night eater, and my number one, and unfortunately I still miss it, but I've been finding substitutes, is cereal. Used to eat that every night before bed. And actually, my senior year of college, I developed an anxiety issue, and I'd be getting really bad panic attacks. And since I started keto, I haven't had a panic attack. And that was actually when we spoke, we were talking about it, and we were talking about how when my sugar drops after eating so much, that my body goes into a state of panic, and which triggers a panic in my head.
Absolutely.
So because of that, I've actually haven't had a panic attack since.
Yeah.
And so then when we met, it was in September, I was still 300 pounds, and I just graduated college, so I kind of had a new chapter in my life, and I said, this is the time to do it. My dad met with you, obviously, a couple weeks before. My dad said, this is it. Keto is the way to go. I knew about it through social media. Obviously, I'm a millennial, so I love Instagram, I love Facebook, and I was starting to see a lot of different profiles and a lot of actually celebrities starting to endorse it. So I kind of had it in mind, but I wasn't sure how it would
Right.
affect me. And then
And whether you could do it probably as well.
exactly,
Yeah.
because with the celebrities, it's not real life.
Yeah.
You know, they have an entourage of 10 people telling them what to eat, how to live, and I just had me. So
Yeah.
because of that, I was unsure. But then we met, and what you taught me, which really resonated with me for a while, is that I realized that keto isn't a diet. And so I realized that this is the way I need to eat for the rest of my life. And I think when I was younger and I heard the word diet and lifestyle, I kind of rolled my eyes.
Yeah, it's a big turn-off when you hear that, I think,
Exactly.
a lot of the time.
Even when you hear the word lifestyle when you're
Yeah.
younger, you're like,
Yeah.
what does that even mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care about that. And
diet usually implies, man, hunger and deprivation.
starvation and
Yeah,
water and
yeah.
carrying like a jug full of a cleanser with me. And that wasn't, I was not that type of person. Still
Yeah.
am not to this
Yeah.
day. And so I think what resonated me with the most is that you said you can still eat what you want. You said you like eggs. I said I love them. You said you like bacon. I said I love it. You like salmon. Love it. Vegetables. Love it. So I was really able to eat what I wanted, the portions I wanted, without being starved. And since then, I was able to pick up my workouts a lot. I used to have to use my inhaler after just walking on the treadmill. Now I run about 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, I run about 2 miles, which I could never thought I
did.
could ever do in my
You
life.
still need your inhaler?
No, I haven't used my inhaler since I started keto.
Obviously, you were able to sort of start on this. I mean, did you start seeing fairly reasonable? Did you weigh yourself ever, or occasionally, or?
Oh yeah,
Because I remember your percent body fat, I think, was also tremendously
oh
high.
yeah,
at
it
the time.
was in the upper 30s. I think it was
yeah.
really high.
You're
up.
nearly 40% fat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure now you're close to 20% or
I'm about 22%.
22% is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, for me, seeing, lots of clients, the body fat, I think, is so much more important even than the weight, because that's the part that's bad for us. I have guys that are 260 pounds, but they got a 5% body fat. So
Exactly.
I think the percent body fat is important. But obviously, I mean, I don't know how many inches. You had to probably buy a whole new set of clothes, right?
Oh yeah, my dad's pretty upset about it.
Yeah,
But,
because I'm sure you lost several inches around your waist. There's no doubt about
Oh
it.
yeah, my waist when I first started was about 42, and now I'm a 32, 31.
That's fantastic.
And
Yeah.
my shirt size was about a double to a triple XL, and now I'm a comfortable large. Sometimes I'm a medium.
So let me ask you some specifics. So I think I gave you some green sheets and orange sheets and things and said, look, don't eat off the red sheets. That's the real no-nos. But green sheets, you're pretty much free to eat whatever you like. So obviously you employed some of that, and then obviously tailored the diet more or less to things you enjoyed eating.
Exactly.
Yeah, and adding more fat and obviously cutting the carbs,
Mm-hmm.
cutting the carbs down. So, what about drinks? I know a lot of people. What did you do? Because I'm sure before you were drinking a few milkshakes and a few
Oh,
cokes
yeah.
and God knows what,
I would-
juices and things like that. So, how did you manage that? The drinks. I mean,
That was pretty tough. I would say it was up there with the sweets of having to really struggle to stop doing that. I mean, I was the king of Diet Coke.
Yeah,
It was my
that's the
favorite.
worst. Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did drink water, but not as much. And I think that after we initially spoke, I was honestly so motivated and inspired to cut out the bad. So what I was able to do, I couldn't really go cold turkey with everything because of the keto flu.
Yeah.
So I really was able, I kind of mapped out what I was eating for the first week and a half. And I said, okay, this is what I'm eating. I'm consciously aware now of it. So I kind of said, okay, if I'm going to have a Diet Coke every single day like I have, it's not going to work. So maybe I'll have 2 Diet Cokes in a week. And I'll start there, and then I'll work my way down. And I remember we also spoke, and it wasn't even drinks, it was also bagels. I remember you read my dietary sheet, and he was like, you're having way too many bagels. And I said, I know I have to cut that.
Bagels in New York, you can be excused because
Exactly.
there's something in the water that is magical. But yeah, so I mean, do you occasionally have a bagel now?
I do,
Very-
but I would
very
say
occasionally.
once a month.
So instead of a couple of every day, you'd do
Oh,
it
yeah.
once a month.
Once a
or so.
month.
Yeah,
And-
that's fine. That's fine.
And
That's
the
fine, yeah.
great thing about keto is that because I lost all this weight, I really don't crave the bad anymore. And I've
You're
also
sort of over that sugar addiction that you
I'm
had.
done with it
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, you were mentioning earlier, and it's very interesting because I just saw a gentleman about 2 days ago who's also having tremendous panic attacks, and he decides that he has to keep eating 6 or 7 times a day to avoid these panic attacks, and it's because he's eating such a high carb diet.
Yeah.
Because as you know, that once the insulin dips, and if it really dips a lot, it's an emergency to the body, so you actually think you're dying, and you have this anxiety attack, which is terribly uncomfortable. It's like someone flips a switch, and the next thing you're suddenly thinking you're going to stop breathing and drop to the floor.
I thought I was having heart attacks left and right.
So I mean, so a lot of your symptoms, by the sound of things, you're obviously able to do without your inhalers. You're not taking any real drugs at the moment of any type, and so you've done this all pretty much just with keto. What about, did you try some intermittent fasting along the way?
I actually did. There was a couple recipes I had to try because I wasn't really big of a fan of just a plain black coffee. So what I usually do in the morning is that I have my coffee with brain octane oil and ghee butter, and so I blend that up. And so
you just mix it up in like a little,
and just like a little blender
or something.
Exactly. And I love iced coffee, so I put it in the blender with the iced coffee, and it's great. And I usually don't start eating until 1 o'clock, and then I definitely have my cutoff because as I said, I used to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and down a whole thing of cereal, and now I stop eating at 8. And if I'm a little hungry, I'll have berries, strawberries, which are low carb. And that's pretty much it now.
Yeah. So, just in wrapping up, I mean, I'm absolutely delighted, and I think this is going to be something that has absolutely extended your lifespan and health span. I mean, I think, that it's not just how long we live, it's also the quality of our life there, which is so important. And I'm sure you're sleeping better, you've got much more energy and all this type of thing. Any sort of last sort of thoughts or tips to people who were in that sort of stuck place? And obviously, as you mentioned, you're depressed, and I think your self-esteem, when you like that, you feel uncomfortable in that, and there are many folks out there. Any sort of final sort of tips that you think were things that really helped you? I mean, it sounded like you were quite regimented when deciding these kind of things. What do you think, if you had to be telling your good friend who was 300 pounds, what are the top 2 or 3 things you'd say to him?
Definitely stay motivated. I had weeks where I wasn't losing a lot of weight, and then I would get on the scale and I would be 7 pounds lighter. So for me, that was very big.
How often did you step on the scale?
I tried to do it once a week.
Yeah, I think not more than once a week, maybe even once or every 2 weeks, because that in itself can be kind of
for me,
demotivating, isn't it?
Exactly. For me, when I initially started, I would be on the scale every day. Just because I was very anxious. And that's what happens, is that when you're that heavy and someone's telling you they can help change your life, you get very anxious about it. And so for the first couple of weeks, I was very unsure about it, but I kept with it. And that's the thing that people have to keep in mind, is consistency. And you really have to do it on your own. No one can do it. No one can push you yourself. For 20 years, my family tried to push me, but until I decided it was time, that's when it happened.
A lot of people have told me, and I mean, I've seen also from some of the published data, that eating more fat, which you obviously did in your diet, because obviously a lot of the foods you like were fatty foods. So that satiety that you get from the fat, I think, is also very helpful to stop that craving, because you're basically full a much longer period of the day. And then cutting down to just healthy meals twice a day, you keep that consistency.
And it's, I feel like it's pure energy. It's very different energy than you have when you have your sugar rush or you're high in carbs. And for me, I feel like my mind is so much clearer. My working out is so much better because of the fats that I'm eating are healthy, and that's how I'm burning my energy.
And I mean, from a physiological point, your mitochondria, which are all your little energy, inside the factories inside your cells, they love fat, and they function a lot better and make actually more ATP, which is the currency of energy, than it does burning a sugar molecule, a glucose molecule. So, listen, thanks very, very much for popping over here, and sort of, I'm so delighted to see you.
I'm definitely happy to help. Thank you. You helped change my life. So
you did all the heavy lifting. Don't get it wrong. I gave you a few pointers. Anyway, lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.